right, hi class. I want to take this moment and talk to you a little bit about the ethnography/field exercise report that we will be working on this term in our comparative religion course. As a class on comparative religions, as I'm trying to make very clear in my prompt, the one thing that we are encouraged to do is to learn a lot about different religions and to compare the different practices between them all. We're trying to introduce you to the history of these groups and talk about their special religious practices, and of course look at their religious sacred texts. But one thing about this class that makes it unique and makes it challenging for us to do this type of work is that it is conducted online through technology. Here I am presenting to you on a video recording through YouTube. We will do readings through an electronic textbook. You submit your work to me electronically. We communicate entirely electronically. And something about religion is that it's personal. Religion is often best done in groups. Technology isn't the best way necessarily to experience religion, right? And that's, like I said, is best done by going out and taking part, being present, seeing religion in action. And so for that reason, this term, what I would like for each of you to do, is to choose a religious tradition that is unfamiliar to you. Something that is, if you are religious already, something that you do not attend or have not attended. For instance, if I was a Christian, say I'm a member of a local Baptist congregation, no, I do not want to do this project about my Baptist congregation. Instead, I would choose another religious tradition from our text and choose them as the group that I would be most interested in studying. Now, it doesn't have to be, if I'm Christian, it doesn't mean that I have to do something that's non-Christian. It would be okay for you to do something that's similarly Christian. But the idea is for you to do something that's unfamiliar to your personally held religious views. Because this is a short 11-week and we are already in week 2, I felt it be important that I lay out this assignment to you as soon as possible so that you can begin looking for times, planning out your days, so that you can find an opportunity to attend a worship service. Now, I have found that the best way to find which religious services are near me and the times that they meet by, frankly, using Google. And I will go on and I will search. For instance, this past week I searched for a Hindu worship service. So I typed in, Hindu worship close to me or near me. And I found a location that I linked to in this week's assignment that's located in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, not very far from our campus here at Summerdale. I found the president of that institute, and I sent him a message. I said, "Hi, I'm teaching this class on comparative religion, and I would be interested in having me and some of my students come down and visit and see, your Hindu temple and get a sense of what your worship services are like. Is there a date and a time that would be appropriate for me to come and witness this?" And the guy responded very quickly and said, these are the dates that I would recommend. This upcoming weekend, they're having a 24-hour recital where they are reciting these words over and over and over again for 24 hours. So that might be a little bit too much for you or for your students, but come on a Saturday night at 6:30 and then attend for an hour, and we will accommodate you. So my point is, depending on where you are, I would encourage you to seek out something that's nearby. I understand that may limit some of you to your options, but I think that religion is still prevalent enough that regardless of where you are, where you're living, that there should be something, some religious group nearby to you. Now, if that is not an option, whether due to lack of transportation or geographic area, that these places are just too far away from you, then I will also allow you to do an electronic viewing. I know that some of the larger religions do post online worship services that you can seek out. I know these are very common in Christianity, for instance. I know if I turn on certain stations on Sunday morning, I get zeroed in directly to some Philadelphia worship services. So if that's, I will allow that to be an option, but that is an option of last resort. My preference, again, because of the value of this type of work, is to do it in person. Now, when you're attending, I ask for you to be respectful, to be dignified. Please do not go with a large group if you're not going to be able to behave yourself. The last thing I want is a bunch of Central Penn students causing ruckus or mayhem or disrupting, the sacred worship services for these groups. Your job is to be a fly on the wall. Your job is to mimic what other people are doing and to call as little of attention to yourself as possible. It's appropriate to, I would encourage you to reach out beforehand to someone who worships there, or perhaps to the minister or priest or rabbi, and ask what an appropriate attire would be for someone attending. I don't want you to go to something that's a Sunday best, going in t-shirts and shorts and being disruptive. So I would ask what an appropriate attire would be. When you're going, your job is to, like I said, be a fly on the wall. I want you to watch and witness what is happening. We'll be talking about many of these religions over the next few weeks. So I want you to be able to put a face and a place, put a name with the things that you are, which you are experiencing. If you look into the announcement that I posted this morning about the assignment, you will see some of the questions that I would like for you to consider. I will read it for you here. While you are attending, I would like for you to answer the following question. What did you find distinctive about the religious service you attended? In other words, please analyze and describe the differences between the religion/worship service you attended and other religious communities and experiences. And this gets to that comparative perspective of this course, asking you to compare the similarities and differences with what you experienced in your attending versus what you have experienced elsewhere in other religious communities and experiences. Now, to do this, what I don't want is a step-by-step, this happened, followed by this happening, and then this guy got up and spoke about this. While that type of detailed description is valuable, I ask for you to instead assume that I already know what that layout is like, but instead I would prefer for you to speak about specifics. As I say here, identify the phenomenon, the speech or action that caught your attention, and elaborate on what about it mattered to you and why. So, if, for instance, you come from a background perhaps where you are accustomed to a large band playing during the religious service, and you are attending a service that is almost completely quiet, reflect upon differences in sound and noise and how that helped you, or what you found about that was unique or distinctive. You may also consider looking at things like the worship sequence, preaching or praying styles. One thing I have noted in my experiences is how different religions have different praying styles. There are commonalities, specific phrases that people will use. And the same is true for preaching. In some religious traditions, there's a specific preaching style, and that will vary depending on the religious tradition. You may consider things like music, leadership, who's in charge and who isn't in charge, the makeup of the congregation and leaders. This can be done both demographically, considering things like race, ethnicity, gender, age, etc. You may consider the use of space, whether it's cramped, crowded, or very open. You can consider the floor plan, where the services are held in conjunction with where the audience is. Is there more of a connection between the two, more a holistic approach, or are there a clear delineation between the people who are in charge versus those who are part of the lay congregation? Use of bodies. What do people do with their body during worship? Are people active or are they more passive? Are people actively participating and raising hands, responding to questions, speaking out? Are they taking part in the worship themselves? Or are they listeners? Are they embracing, hearing what is being preached or taught? The degree of spontaneity or formality. Are people very spontaneous? Can they do whatever they want? Or is there appear to be a rigid structure, a set of expectations about how the event will progress and what people will do at specific times? I remember attending a Catholic Mass and noting that every time the priest said a specific phrase, the people in the congregation would respond in kind. So there are certain rules that are often taught but often expected for people to abide by. So consider those. Consider what most caught your attention and elaborate what you thought was interesting about it, why it mattered to you. All right, now this assignment will be due at the end of week 9. So while we have time, we have limited time. We have just about 2 months for you to do this. So I would encourage you to begin looking now to find that religion, that worship service that most aligns with your schedule, with your ability to go to, with your family and work schedules, and begin plotting your schedule to make time so that you can go and attend this, but also to give yourself enough time to reflect upon your experience and to put it together your ideas in a paper. All right, we can talk more about this at a later date. I wanted you to get thinking about it now as we jump in at week 2. Thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions.